Good afternoon and happy Friday, everyone. So this is Todd Wenzel, Megaport Solutions Architect here in North America. On today's Tech Talk and demonstration, I want to show you how easy it is to deploy a Megaport cloud router and build a connection and direct connect to AWS and a partner interconnect to GCP. So what you see now is the actual Megaport portal. First, I want to show a diagram and just kind of walk through the steps, points that we'll be working on today during the Tech Talk. So as I had mentioned, we will be deploying a Megaport Cloud Router, which is a virtual router where customers can spin these up in really any major metro market. Does not need to be connected back to a data center. It can be connected directly to any of the major hyperscalers and be used for cross-cloud communication. So I will actually spin this up in Ashburn today for the demo. So again, a Megaport Cloud Router, it is a virtual router, can be spun up in minutes, and it comes in 4 different bandwidth increments: 1 gig, 2.5 gig, 5 gig, and 10 gig. You can also build up to 25 virtual connections off of the Megaport Cloud Router. So if you needed multiple connections to different AWS subscriptions, Azure, OCI, IBM, Google, etc., you can build multiple virtual connections off of the MCR. So again, today we will look at building a partner interconnect, which is the Google Direct Connect platform, and then also an AWS Direct Connect. So let's swivel on over to the Megaport portal. Pretty cool dashboard that we've developed here. And you have the ability to deploy services from a couple of different places within the portal, and I'll show you both. For starters, I want to show you what it would look like if I were to deploy a resource from the actual dashboard, the globe itself. And what this shows you when I zoom in is all of the Megaport enabled data centers really across the globe. So we're in 850-ish data centers where we either have equipment physically racked and stacked in these data centers, or we have the ability to cross connect to a data center within that same metro campus. First thing I want to do is I want to do some filtering. So let me go ahead and select this filter here. Here I can choose if I want a 100 gig port, an MCR, or a Megaport virtual edge. Let's go with the MCR, and then next I can sort by data center providers. So this is a list of data center providers that do have MCRs deployed, and I'll check CoreSite. So these are the CoreSite data centers in North America that do have MCR deployment. And let me go ahead and zoom in. Again, I want to focus in on Ashburn. A lot of North American customers do have workloads in US East, Ashburn, and the cloud router is really used, again, for cross-cloud communication between cloud service providers. And if they're in the same metro region, obviously you want to connect your clouds as close as you can to where the workloads sit to get great performance, better latency, etc. So this icon here shows me CoreSite VA1 Reston, which is in Sterling, Virginia. And what we see here is we can turn up ports, MCRs, and Megaport virtual edges at this location. So let's go ahead and click here. And what I want to do is deploy the MCR, Megaport Cloud Router. And now this will take me to this screen here, which we would normally see under the Services tab. And of course, it defaulted to the data center that I want to deploy the service. Here we have a diversity zone option. So Megaport does provide dual servers in each of these MCR-enabled data centers. And one, we'll call it a red server, and the second is a blue server. So it's important to note, as if you want to deploy an HA pairing, you always want to make sure that you're deploying resources in a different diversity zone or color. We do recommend doing HA pairing when you do deploy MCR services. And we also offer 3 or 4 other data center locations in Ashburn that does have MCR capability. So normally, best practice is to deploy one MCR in, say, a CoreSite, and then a second MCR in a NTT or QTS data center. I'll go ahead and just let this auto assign since this is my first MCR I'm deploying. What we can see here is that it's deployed in the blue diversity zone. So again, if I want to deploy an HA pair, I want to make sure if I'm doing it in the same data center, I want to deploy it on the red diversity zone. Here are my bandwidth options. Again, 1, 2.5, 5, and 10 gig options. One thing to note is, again, this is a virtual router that you're spinning up on my physical hardware. So if you spin up a 1 gig MCR and you decide later on down the road you want to expand the bandwidth, grow, you do have to spin up a new instance at whatever bandwidth size you would like. You're actually taking core space out of my server, and each bandwidth increment requires a different amount of cores. So important to note, it's easy. You can set it up. We have a great move VXC function where you can actually move VXCs or virtual cross connects to the cloud from one MCR to the other by pointing and pushing a couple of buttons in the portal. So it's not a big painful process if you do decide to upgrade or downgrade your MCR size. I'll start off with 1 gig for this demo. And first thing, we need to name it. So we'll call this Todd Tech Talk. This is a free-form field. You can change it at any time. This typically, when working with customers, this is probably the hardest part of the process because people don't know what they want to name things when they're on the spot. Service level reference. This is if you have a project code or something that you want associated with this this line item to show up on your bill, so you know how to send the billing as appropriate. We do have 4 different term options. So we have a no subscription monthly rate of 600, and then you can see we have 12, 24, 36 month. Obviously, the longer the term, the lower the rate that you would get. I'll just go ahead and do no subscription. And last but not least, Megaport, we do provide a ASN for this connection. So 133937 is the Megaport public ASN. Most customers just leave it as is. In this case, we're using this ASN to peer directly with AWS and Google. You can change it if you would like, but I'll leave it at the default. Go ahead and select next. We'll always give a survey or a summary of what we're ordering, connection speed, diversity zone, etc. Once you feel good and you're ready to go, you can select Add MCR. So anytime you order services in the Megaport portal, similar to like an Amazon shopping cart, it shows up in the upper left-hand corner. Once I hit order, it goes through a quick validation process, review my term, review my price, and I select order now. So you have a couple of different places where you can keep clicking add before you actually order the service. So kind of a safeguard against making a mistake. All right, so I've gone ahead and deployed that. Let's go into the services tab here. So we can see it's deployed on my dashboard. Again, you can order services through the actual dashboard, the mapping, and then you can also order those on the services tab. I could create an MCR right here and go through that same process. So right now we're in the deployable state. That'll change to configured, and the service will become live here in a second. Again, we can see the diversity zones. And then also we have this nice template of the cloud service providers that we can connect to. So let's go ahead and get rolling on my AWS connection. So what I need to do is log into my AWS portal. I need to quickly grab my AWS account ID, and I will select this AWS tab. So this has opened up a field with, of course, my AWS Direct Connect, and I have 2 different options. So I have a hosted VIF Direct Connect option, and I have a hosted Connect. Biggest differences are the hosted VIF supports public and private VIFs, and the hosted connection supports public, private, and transit. Most customers that we talk to today are running a transit gateway environment, so the hosted connect model is the model that they require. For this demo, I'll go ahead and do a hosted VIF. These are the AWS on-ramp locations that Megaport is located in across the globe. So what that means is we are physically plugged into the AWS infrastructure. So I have fiber cabling going from my switches directly connected into their switches and routers. So it does not leave the Megaport network. It is 100% private. Let's go ahead and filter by country. And these are my AWS on-ramp locations for hosted VIF, right? I didn't do hosted connection. And what I want to do is obviously if my resources sit in us-east-1, Ashburn, I want to go ahead and select an on-ramp that is close to that on-ramp. Again, my MCR is in Reston. So I actually do have AWS on-ramps right there within the same data center. So in this connection, it will travel from my Megaport cloud router to AWS on Megaport dark fiber. and it does not leave the building. Once it hits the AWS network, AWS would then backhaul the traffic to wherever those workloads sit within the Ashburn Metro. I'll select next. Just call this not Todd, AWS VXC. And once again, service level reference. Blank here, you can add a PO or any project code at any time. You can go and edit this. Same with your connection name. You can edit that at any time and change it. So I'll just do a 50 meg connection. And once again, we'll see what the pricing is for that 50 meg connection. You can do it on no term, 12, 24, 36 months. So, determining on what your use case is, you can do short term or long term. And that is about it here. Let me go ahead and select next. We don't have any connection details right now. I'll just continue to work on through. This is where I put my AWS account ID. Again, here's the ASN for the MCR. The ASN for my AWS environment is 64512, I believe. Let me just go back and double check. So I'm taking this to a virtual private gateway. I'm not doing a direct connect gateway today. But let me go to my direct connect section. Go to my virtual private gateways. I'm using this us-east-1 VGW. I hit enter or edit, I'm sorry. And this will take me to my VPC 64512. So I was correct. Last but not least, for a BGP peering session with AWS Direct Connect, you are required to have a BGP auth key or password and a /30 BGP peer. I can create my own auth key. I can use my own IP blocks, private IP blocks for this scenario, or I can let AWS auto assign. Let's let AWS do the heavy lifting. Once again, quick detail on what I'm ordering. Select add VXC, and I will order it. Perfect. So we see it's deploying. So what's happening is so Megaport is API integrated with all of the major cloud service providers, AWS being one, of course. So we use the AWS account number to set up this virtual connection. In a minute or so, we'll be able to pick that connection up in the AWS portal, accept it, assign it to a gateway, and really build that provisioning between Megaport and AWS. Same goes for Google, API integrated. So when one system is always talking to the other, which is pretty cool. All right, so we are sitting in deployable, and let me bring up my Google console because I want to build the partner interconnect. AWS, you start in the Megaport portal with the account number. With Google, you build your partner interconnect, get an ID, and then go into Megaport. Azure, you start in Azure. Oracle, you start in Oracle. So each CSP works a little bit differently than the other. I'll go ahead and select a project. I'll just use my own. And over here at the hamburger, I need to look for networking, and network connectivity. All right, let me try that again. So view all products. They've changed this on me a little bit. Let's see, where is my networking? And they just did this yesterday. All right, let's see what happens here. Network connectivity, and that's docs. Network connectivity center. I do not want to create a hub. Well, this is kind of embarrassing because this normally works very, very well. Let's see what we got here. Cloud Run. It's not there. View all products. All right, how about if we try to type in Fast Connect? Okay, let's do this. Oh, you know what? I was in the wrong project, I believe. Let's hope. View all products. Network services. It is not giving me what I want to get. networking connectivity. Oh, here we go. Yeah, they definitely changed this up since yesterday even. Okay, I think I'm good now. All right, so what I want to do here is create a VLAN attachment. And I have a couple of different internet interconnect types. So dedicated, I don't want that today. Partner interconnect, that is what I want. Megaport is a partner with Google, and then I can do cross-cloud interconnect connection. So let me go ahead and select partner. I'll hit continue. I already have a service provider. So I have the ability to create a redundant pair right out of the gate, which is a Google recommendation. So this would be two virtual cross connects from Megaport, or I can create a single VLAN with no redundancy, which I'll do today. And once you've done that, you have the ability to add a second redundant connection later on if you wanted to have that. So I'll get a quick pop-up telling me that I'm breaking the Google law, that they need me to do, they want me to do more than one connection, but we're good for right now. So my region, let's go ahead and select Northern Virginia, and I'll select this cloud router that's already been set up. I will name my VLAN GCP Megaport. And last but not least, I can choose my MTU size. So the Megaport cloud router's MTU is set for 1500. So we'll go ahead and match that on Google and select create. So we're creating a pairing key right now, which should establish here in a second. And once we receive that, we'll take that back into the Megaport portal to build our GCP connection. There we go. Copy. I'll go ahead and pre-enable or activate my Google connection, so the automation can start building this connection once we've gone from the Megaport portal back into the Google portal. All right. So one thing here, we see that the AWS connection is now green and live, which means layer 2 has been established between the Megaport cloud router and the AWS environment. Again, my MCR is up as well. So we've seen some color changes happen since we've been getting confused in the Google portal. So let's go ahead and select cloud. And now I can scroll Google, or I could type Google up at the top to search for specific cloud service provider that I want to connect to. Here, I will paste in my pairing key. And this is the beauty of the API. When you pop that in, if it's not valid, it'll say not a valid service key. So this tells me that the checks and balances between the Megaport system and the Google system are working, and this is a valid key. So these are my cloud on-ramps for Google. You can see I'm in Equinix DC4 Ashburn, CoreSite VA1 Reston. So why not MCRs in Reston, CoreSite, AWS is connected there. Why don't I just connect my Google connection there as well? So everything from a Megaport perspective stays within the same building. So I'll select that. You see that there is a diversity zone red. So Google does deploy in pairs, as I had mentioned. And if you're doing an HA pairing with Google, you would want to choose the red zone for one of your connections and the blue zone for the second connection, knowing that you'll get two different devices on the Google side. We'll hit next, GCP VXC. I'll do a rate limit of 50 again. No subscription, so pay as you go, add VXC, and validate order. So while this is happening, one thing to mention is order now. There's a service identifier right here, right next to test. And that service identifier is used to report troubles. If you notice a trouble on your Megaport platform, that is a click to copy ID. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you have the ability to open up a chat with our NOC, and you have direct communication with our NOC, which is 24/7 staffed, all Megaport employees, and our staff, of course, is global. So pretty quick and easy way to contact members of our NOC by simply, again, click to copy and then pop that into the chat and let them know what kind of issue they're having or you're having. Okay, so my AWS connection. Next thing I need to do is I need to accept it. So I created it. It shows up in my AWS console like I promised. I'll go ahead and click on the interface, accept, and then here I can assign it to a direct connect gateway or a virtual private gateway. And I'm choosing the VGW. I'll accept the interface. And what you'll notice here is this is the MCR side IP. This is the Amazon side IP. This is the MCR ASN, and this is the ASN of my virtual private gateway. So through automation, this will automatically provision itself. One thing I noticed here is you can see the IP address. So that's obviously the MCR side of the AWS connection. Once auto provisioning has taken place, that red dot will turn green. And from a Google perspective, let's jump on over to Google and find that connection that I had a hard time trying to do. It's right here. So it's still going through the provisioning process since we just built that connection. So it will change from waiting to service provider and then become available. So let me just do a quick refresh. All right, so it looks like it changed from waiting for a service provider to down. So that's a good thing. We know it's doing its work. See if our AWS connection has changed. Okay, we've got 12:22. I want to make sure I'm cognizant of time. While we're waiting for this, one thing I do want to mention is Megaport does offer, wrong page, a public API for REST API that customers can use. This is the API documentation page. It's on dev.megaport.com. It's actually really easy to use. You have to set up an access key and a secret key within the Megaport portal, and then you can go ahead and create a token in a Postman type environment. And then you can go and start sourcing data. Hey, there's certain locations I want to look at. There's certain cloud service provider locations I want to look at. And once you find the information that you need, it's very easily to go ahead and deploy a port, grab your script. So if I look at by port, I want to just copy this and I'll use this for my command for post. And I can go ahead and deploy resources very, very quickly. It's really a slick platform that I test a lot. And then last but not least, we also do have a Megaport Terraform provider. So we've got a Terraform registry, a GitHub page, etc. And once again, another way to automate your platform. And it's really very slick and fun to use and fun to watch services be deployed outside of doing anything in the portal itself. All right, GCP connection, look at that. So it's layer 2 has been established and BGP peer is up. So I'm good there. Let's look here. AWS is still kind of waiting around. Do a quick refresh. And it usually takes, US East is one of the busier resource areas for obviously the cloud service providers. Because this state's pending right now, it needs to be in an available status next, and then the BGP will come up. So we just have a little bit of time here for the AWS connection. It may not come up by the time we cut loose. I guess one other thing I want to add, or a couple of things, the Megaport Cloud Router does support some advanced features. One of them is prefix filter lists. So if you're doing cross-cloud with multiple CSPs and there's certain IP prefixes that you do not want to propagate between certain CSPs, you have the ability to build custom route filters. So you can permit and deny certain IP blocks from going between how many other CSPs you're using. You can do AS path prepend, you can set meds, and you can set BFD timers. And all of that is really done within this interface here. So there's no CLI or terminal configuration that you need to do. Everything is really self-serve, the easy button by doing it in the Megaport portal. Last but not least, if I click on the looking glass feature here, this will give us an idea of which IP routes are coming into the MCR, and then of course the BGP peering sessions. So again, right now my AWS BGP peer is still down. Let's see if that's changed to available. Still not. My Google route, I am BGP peering with my Google environment. And what we'll notice right here, so this is the CIDR block for my VPC in Google. So that is now being propagated or advertised to the MCR. And once my AWS BGP is good to go, I'll see that block in my VPC route table. So again, once you have a lot of other routes, they'll all start to propagate, and you'll have a giant list here if you have a lot of IPs that are going between the CSPs. So I think I'm done. It's 5 minutes until the end of the hour, and I just want to make sure that I am able to open it up for any questions that we might have.
Hey Todd, thanks. Great job. We did not see any questions come through Zoom. So I
Okay,
guess if there's nothing else to show, we can wish everyone goodbye and a happy weekend.
awesome. Thanks, Christina. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. It's you always have to scramble sometimes, and I learned that they changed the Google platform a little bit, but thankfully I was able to get back on track. I hope again you guys all have a great weekend, and as always, we here at Megaport are here to listen to our customers and new use cases, and excited to hear from you. Thank you.